Welcome back to another episode of the PLETHORA podcast. And today we're here with Corbin Martin, owner of Wild Times Co. and doer of a lot of other things. So Corbin, welcome to the podcast. And I just wanted hopefully you to introduce yourself in many capacities. I know that could take a lot of time.
Sure.
So maybe just briefly say like what you're loving right now and like what you do, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah. Right now I work as a lead copywriter at an advertising agency. That's my day-to-day, but other than that, I own my own business. So we specialize in selling candles and apparel and things like that online, selling to retail stores, things like that. But when it comes to talking about what I do, I spread myself into a lot of stuff, and I don't know, whether it's music or pouring candles or just writing copy, anything that's fun, anything that's creative.
You say that way too easily.
Oh, cool.
As a person that like is doing all the like, oh, cool creative things.
Word.
It's like, it seems to be difficult to juggle all that. So maybe you could start with that. How do you juggle? I know I wanted to talk to you about your processes.
Yeah.
But how do you seem to juggle all this and do it with a happy mindset like you're talking with right now?
Dude, I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday. Part of it was a conversation about identity and things that you enjoy and where you're putting your time. And I'm not even totally sure if it's a question you asked, but I keep finding out a lot of different people look at me as this guy or this guy or this guy.
What's that common thing though? I'm actually curious to hear.
I get a lot of that's the guy that plays guitar, or
really?
That's the guy that sells candles and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling Kenny last night.
Right.
I was like, "You remember Corbin, right?" And he was like, "I think so." And I was like, "He makes candles." And he was like, "Oh yeah,
candle guy." Yeah, so somehow I became the candle guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. In terms of processes and me doing creative things, I'm always chasing like maybe this is the thing that's going to completely satisfy me. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's this.
Yeah.
So the things people will be like, "You're the guitar guy." I feel like I'm a 7.5 out of 10 on guitar.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a 7.5 when it comes to making candles or running a business. So yeah, I don't know. It's something I'm still figuring out. I like spread myself thin and I enjoy it, but I don't know how to like stop myself. And
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm definitely spreading myself pretty thin. I've felt sort of the weight of that with sort of a new experience with burnout, like almost quicker burnout lately. It's different than what I've experienced before, and so I'm trying to figure out how I balance everything. And I mean, I want to do stuff with clothing, trying to do stuff in the video space, obviously.
Yeah, dude.
Making a podcast, getting that up and running, doing things with photo. And I recently realized, I was like, oh shoot, I've been putting all this effort into video, and I'm like, I haven't shot a photo in like, it's been a month or so. And I'm like,
yeah,
dude,
man.
I miss photography. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested in people who are like doing all those things, because I think, it's so easy to hit burnout. Yep. And burnout is such a hot topic word, obviously, but I mean, it comes in different ways and facets. But what are some of your processes that you sort of have, or like maybe it's easier for you to break down your day to day, because you are juggling a lot. Like you do have Wild Times Co., which is like, in my opinion, one of the coolest things to hit West Palm from local. Like I genuinely support what you do, and so I love that you're doing that. But you're also working for one of our friends, Aaron, and doing some other stuff with music too. So yeah, what does your day to day look like, and like how are you going about that?
Yeah, day to day. So basically what I'm doing 9 to 5, it's a lot of copywriting, a lot of work on ads, working with specifically CBD clients. So even for background,
that's with Aaron.
Yeah, that's with Aaron. So that's with a company called Lucid Media. Basically my boss and my business mentor told me, that he wanted to focus more of my time into this company that he was starting. And it's because he figured out how to advertise CBD and hemp on Instagram and Facebook, which to anybody who doesn't know, that's impossible, especially 2 years ago.
Right.
But he found a compliant way to do that within the rules, all that sort of stuff. So basically we're taking on crazy clients that want to spend a lot of money on ads, basically stretching ourselves really thin over time, and then figuring out how do we support what we're doing.
Just because of capacity.
Yeah, capacity. So good problem for a business owner like him to have, just endless work. But yeah, dude, it's complicated. But every day, yeah, we're basically working on strategy for those clients, figuring out what the advertising is going to look like for the next few months, what that week's set of ads is going to be. And I'm working on the content side of that, kind of helping develop what it is that we're doing for that week or for the next week, and then figuring out how do we word this in the most engaging way for that specific audience.
Do you guys kind of approach things on a week-by-week basis?
Yeah, it's very week by week.
Interesting.
And I feel like that's something that we need to get away from more, because it's almost like every investor is expecting, or we call our clients investors, you know, so they know that they're actually investing into our company and not just paying us money.
Of course.
But they expect 3 ads every week by Friday at 12 o'clock, which is cool. But then you get to a point where we're just chasing 3 ads every week, and you start to lose what's the whole strategy for that quarter. And that's what we're trying to figure out right now. So it's very week to week, but it kind of shouldn't be in terms of like what a customer journey needs to be and their experience with a brand over time. It shouldn't be week by week. As
my process is like the ones that I've been recently implementing, and even up to some of the newer things this week, I do everything in Notion. So I use Notion for everything. And Sunday or Saturday, I will take like maybe an hour, go to a cafe, write down everything I want to do for the week. And I also have a backlogged list. So tasks that I didn't achieve that previous week, or whatever that I had set that I said I would do, it shows in a backlog, and I go through and I'm like, okay, I could do this on this day, whatever. And I assign it a day. So I'm in the week to week, but I've been contemplating like, oh shoot, I should probably do broader scope and be like, what are my actual goals here? Okay, with this podcast, what do I want to do with it? Okay, with this clothing idea that I've been tossing around for a while, what do I want to do with it? With video production, where am I going with it? All that stuff, and basically assigning it to like a 6-month goal thing, like a process. And I think that would ease my mind, because then there's that time for everything, and then you can think clearly and move forward in a manner that allows there to be rest and breathing room for the project. And because I've even seen with some of my outreach lately with clients, because what I do in video production and photo production lately has just been like, how do I onboard clients? How do I get more leads and all that stuff? And I've found that a lot of people that you reach out to, they're not like going to be quick to jump on the ball. Like they're not like, oh shoot, this video guy just reached out. There's like 20 other video guys out there that could do something similar to what I do. Like what's different, you know, what's going to differ me from them? You know, you have to work through that on your own, but they don't see the difference, right? Because they're just like, you're just a video guy to them. And so they're pretty slow to pick that up. And so I'm realizing there needs to be breathing room even in like outreach, even in that kind of stuff.
100%.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. Do not have a day. Like I've looked at my life lately of like, oh, this is what I'm achieving today. It's like, no, what are you achieving this year? And that's a bit more powerful. So
yeah, that makes total sense.
That's kind of why I'm at the framework from which I'm asking this question. Yeah,
well, I've just got even more to add to that. One thing I was figuring out, this is with another friend a couple days ago, is I do lots of day-to-day planning, you know, in terms of my process, because like, you have to have your maybe some people don't, but you have to have that to-do list of here's what I'm doing today.
For sure.
And the way I stay inspired is I'm thinking, where do I want to be in 1 year or 2 years or something like that? But I feel like there has to be more of like almost a month-to-month planning, because I can get great at I know where I want to get, and I can do the little steps in the meantime. But in terms of like those milestones that you have to hit along the next couple months and then 4 months, dude, that's where I fall short big time.
Do you guys have like or maybe you personally have like a self meeting? You know how like bigger companies, they'll have a month-to-month meeting where they assess like where they're at on their projects or something like that. I've been considering having that with myself because I'm a one-man band.
It's a good idea.
But it's tough because, you know, I'll be feeling like crap one day, like you know, today, and I'm like, I don't want to do what I'm supposed to be doing, or I don't want to. Yeah, I know I screwed up last week, and I should have gotten this amount of work done, and I actually, you know, fell short or whatever. So to assess that is difficult, you know, as a one man thing.
That's making me think. I think I need to do that. So in terms of what our company does, they do something called a town hall. Because we're all remote, so it's kind of like the one time where everybody that works with the company will be on the same call.
Gotcha.
So that's once a month, and that's like an hour and a half of figuring out what have we accomplished in the last month, introducing new employees to the culture of our company and things like that. And now that you're saying it, I don't know why I don't do that to myself every month. I should be scheduling an hour to go, did I accomplish in the last 4 weeks what I wanted to, not just in the last couple of days?
Because oftentimes I think what you'll find, what I find, what others listening will find is that it takes so much longer than you would think to do something.
Yeah.
And it's not just because the task might take long. Like, for instance, I was filming last night, that's why I was kind of having an off day. I stayed up late. And I was like, okay, we can do like 30 minutes at this location, an hour here. We'll finish up, 1 a.m. or whatever the time was. Yeah. And it just took a while. Like, we finished at like 2. So it just added like basically another hour. And the same thing happened at the first day of shooting. So that was day 2 of it. And things just take a while. So, you apply that to anything. And then you have to bring into consideration like everything else that's happening that day, your energy levels, and like,
yep.
Okay, you've been staring at your computer for 8 hours. You probably shouldn't do another hour of that. Like, go do something else. So like, I've been trying to like, all the keyword like with hacking your life and like figuring out these. I throw that aside. Like, when do you work best? Okay, figure that out, and then put those tasks that need to be done that day in there, and then have like a break, and then maybe work a little bit harder, right after the break. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. So it could be simplified, I think, but it's you still have to think through it, because if you just try to work, it's just like driving your head into the wall. It's not gonna always work.
No, you're spot on. Yeah.
So I want to hear how you began your business, brother. So let's take it way back, because I feel like this was what year was this? I have a guess.
You're like, how old am I?
But then I'm like, I don't want to guess that. I feel like it was 2017.
Yeah, it was 2017.
Yes, dude.
You're spot on. November 2017. Nailed it. I'm glad you said that. I might have forgotten. Yep.
You talked about, you kind of introduced it already, but like maybe go a bit more, like, who are you in terms of this aspect of your life now? Yeah. So like, what is Wild Times? Like, maybe say a little bit more about it.
Yeah, well, to summarize, Wild Times is an e-commerce company. We're selling candles, we're selling apparel, and we're doing that through our e-commerce platform. So it's like a Shopify website, and then probably about 70% of our major sales. Oh yeah, what a quick plug.
Huh, who knew?
Heck yeah, man. We're right now, the revenue comes from about 30% online and 70% retail. So it's almost like, in the meantime, selling to a lot of different retail shops to build it up, and then eventually I want to flip that, of course, where I want to be like 70% of our revenue comes from our online platform, things like that. But yeah, essentially that's the business right now. And in terms of how I started it, what's so funny is like it leans a little bit into what I was talking about always spreading myself really thin and wondering like, what's the thing that's going to satisfy me the most? Just constantly wanted to try new things. But backing it up, my freshman year of college, as you'd expect, like, your dorm room just smells so bad.
wait, what about the sacred rule of
dude.
We went to the same college, though.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a common thing, though.
You're not allowed to have candles.
Yeah. I feel like that's pretty common, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't go to another college.
If you think it irritates your college burning candles, wait till they find out you're selling them.
Yeah, from your dorm or something. I mean, did you sell them from your dorm?
Yeah, for sure.
Just like melting wax.
Super not allowed. Oh, yeah. I mean, there was a point where I was skipping ahead. Even my junior year, when I didn't have a space to make the stuff anymore, I had to move a giant
I think I remember
gallon tank into our apartment, and that was super not cool in terms of what PBA thought about me.
Yeah.
But yeah, freshman year of college, dorm room just smelled so freaking bad. And then...
Do you want to call out anybody for that? Like, why it smelled bad?
Absolutely not. But it smelled super bad.
Leaving names out of this one.
Yeah, dude. And I had already started, like, getting into design a little bit. Not that I'm even great at drawing, but just finding out, like, oh, you mean I can download Illustrator and for $20 a month learn how to just make cool designs and mess with fonts, whatever. I'd done that a little bit. And then it was that December during Christmas break, I went to like a Michael's with my mom or something like that. I found like a candle making kit, and then just tried that to see maybe I can make my dorm room smell better, and then made 3.
Was there like something there when you were at Michael's? You're like, I'm gonna get a candle, or was it like you just saw it and you're like,
just how I roll.
Stupid things like, dude, I'm gonna buy a candle making. Like,
well, I'm looking at it like $20 and I can make some candles. I'm like, that sounds freaking sick. Why not? I'm bored.
Okay.
Yeah, all 3 of them just smelled like urine. It was disgusting, and that created enough of an obsession for me to want to just at least make a good one. And through that process, I found like, I just like making this, and I like making things. And So that's where I would say like my business started in a sense of like I started wanting to make things that people could buy.
Right.
And then getting really good at that. But then where it really started was my sophomore year. I'm taking like an entrepreneurship class, which felt like the one thing that would feel inspirational to me, getting a business degree. And I remember my professor, when I was talking to him, I remember just getting to know him. I started talking about, oh, like I make candles, and I gave him one as a gift. And he said, you need to sell this stuff. And I went, like, I like as a business, like, should I actually do that? What's the paperwork I need to do? Mm-hmm. And he gave me the best piece of advice ever. And he said, you absolutely cannot worry about the paperwork. He said, if your mom is going to start a bakery, she doesn't just go down to the courthouse and start filling out paperwork. She just starts selling muffins. And then once she's selling so many muffins that it's an issue, then you get to worry about the paperwork.
Yeah.
So he said, your candles are your muffins. Just get out there and see if you can get people to buy candles, you know? And once you're doing that, you have a business. You know, once you're making something people will like, that's where I think, like, that's where it started. I don't remember when I filled out the paperwork or what that process was like. It's like Sunbiz or whatever.
Right,
it takes
it's super easy.
Yeah, 20
it's
minutes.
Florida, but
it's super easy.
Florida's really easy.
Yeah. But dude, that's when your business started. Or when your business starts is when you're just finally putting yourself out there in terms of like, I want to see if people will buy into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that you can do right now.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Dude, you just inspired like 20 viewers or something.
That's good.
Yeah, that's pretty killer. So that was 2017. That was the year that you had the class too. Like that kind of all happened in that 1 year of you discovering like, oh shoot, candles are cool.
2017, when I really think about the timeline, is when I started figuring out that I liked making things.
Okay.
I started doing something with like a business-oriented mindset in terms of like, I want to create something that people will enjoy or that they'll buy into.
Yeah.
And it was later on the next year, I think it's a year, like probably a year from that date was when I actually started selling them with the intention of like, I'm going to grow this thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And that was, have you met Aaron at that point? Because I feel like he's a pretty big influence in your life in terms
100%.
of a business mindset, in terms of being the entrepreneur self, you know, because he's really good at what he does. So, I mean, how does that affect you? And when did he come into that?
Big time. So that would have been, I think I had been working on my business for maybe about 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
And that's like, I had built a Wix shop that was just not good.
Yeah, go with
whatever.
Squarespace.
Yeah,
Squarespace
or Shopify. Please don't do Wix.
Maybe even Etsy. I mean,
right, dude. Absolutely.
It's not Wix.
Yeah, Wix is like the Internet Explorer of
this is
website building.
By Wix, by the
way.
way.
I'm so sorry, Wix.
Anyways.
So I met Aaron in that entrepreneurship class.
Really?
Yeah, so...
Because he's a grad, so he probably was coming back and... Okay.
So what our professor did that was really great is I love that I actually have some things in college that
actually
pushed me forward. Yeah, I'm like, well, dude, looking back...
Let's take a moment.
He wanted... our professor wanted us to almost do like a Shark Tank presentation where we broke up into groups and you're like, I need you to develop me like a real business plan that you could actually start doing this year. And then you're going to pitch that. And we did a grilled cheese food truck or something like that, but I took it seriously. And Aaron was a guy who graduated from PBA, had started multiple businesses and just made a lot of money.
Yeah.
I knew who he was and then introduced myself to him afterwards. And he told me about a co-working space called 1909 in West Palm. And he said, you need to be in there. Just go in there. You need to get a membership. You just need to sit there and meet the people that are inside. And the fact that I've been working on my business for a little while was like enough for them to want me in that space, which is super awesome. I mean, these are professionals that make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, I just surrounded myself with them. And then over time, me growing my business there, a few more months down the road, I reached out to Aaron for some advice just in terms of like, how am I going to advertise my business? Because I had no idea. I didn't really know where to start. He just said, just come mentor for me. He had a couple different e-commerce brands and brought me on just as a mentor, doing all sorts of different facets of what it takes to start one of those companies, whether that was...
Wait, intern.
Yeah, intern.
You said mentor. He's your mentor.
He's my mentor. Yeah.
Okay, you said come mentor for me. I just wanted to...
Oh, I said that?
Yeah.
Oh, word. Yeah, no, I couldn't do that. I'll tell you that much.
So you were interning for him?
Yeah, I was interning for him.
Learning under him, yeah.
And that's what was so cool. He just gave me like a really broad scope of what are all the different things that you need to know how to do, at least just to get started.
Yeah.
And what started there and eventually turned into my full-time position at his advertising agency, everything I was doing for him was still teaching me how to do my business. You know, it was teaching me how to grow in some ways, teaching me how to organize my financials or how to build my website in the most engaging way, things like that.
Right.
So that's where working with him really helped me grow what I was doing. And the biggest benefit I've gotten now is my day-to-day is figuring out, how do I tap into something that users are going to love? How do I really engage with an audience? How do I really help an audience connect with a brand? And that's what I have to do with my own. So luckily, my 9-to-5, while it's paying my bills, is still teaching me something that I can pour into my real passion. Yeah, so in that sense, I got lucky. But in terms of luck, I also just had to put in some work where somebody would at least recognize, like, okay, I see you working hard. Like, let me pull you along a little bit. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think two things happened there that's like crucial. One, you found someone who like helped you where you were at, and yet also you found someone who, like, you found another thing that could pay for what you're eager to get after. So you found the job and you also found the mentor. And I think when you're first starting, and I was talking, actually I had Ben on last week, and I was talking to him about how Jack had helped him sort of grow as a photographer, where he went from, like, you know, he had a camera, he was trying his like doing what he could and like learning what he could from YouTube and stuff like that. But having a mentor come alongside you and be like, yo, this is how you do things for photography was crucial to like where he's at now. Like, he's killing it. He's really good at what he does.
Big
and
time.
Of course he's still helping Jack. You had Aaron come along, and he like taught you how to do ads, sales, grow your business, expand, all these things. And now you're also still working with him, and like it's fueling your business still. Yeah. Which is kind of what, you know, it's doing for Ben as well, which is killer. I would highly advise that path over what I do, because I just kind of went for it. And you know, you learn from YouTube, learn from, I mean, I've had a few mentors, and I have someone now who's pouring into me, and it's like so crucial to have that. But I think what you did was smart.
Thanks, man. And I think everybody needs to find a mentor that helps pull them along, whether that's in their personal life or in their professional life. And really cool piece of advice that I had gotten from a book that I was reading is about Ben Franklin. And in terms of like getting a mentor is going to be investing his time, and he wants to invest into somebody that he knows is going to make the most out of it. You know, it has to be in some ways mutually beneficial. Dude, there's an awesome piece of advice I learned about Ben Franklin, of all people, when he owned a printing shop. And in order to run his printing shop, it's going to take a lot of work, you know, without going too far into that. It takes a lot to grow your business, and you're going to have to do it no matter what. But like what he would do is, instead of hiring somebody to go pick up his paper and wheel it through town and all that sort of stuff and doing it after hours, Ben Franklin decided at the busiest time of day, I'm going to push my paper in a wheelbarrow all the way through town and all the way back, because he's already working hard. So he's going to make sure that other people see him working hard.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do it anyway, it doesn't mean show off, but it also means show off a little bit. Yeah. Everybody's going to buy into the guy that's working his ass off, you know? So if you're doing that already, don't hide it. Yeah. So, and that's the stuff that attracts people, like a mentor or even an investor that wants to just pour their time and resources into you, you know?
Yeah, I think having the heart and like putting yourself out there, which is such a common phrase, but what I mean by that is like being seen. What you're saying, like if you just have Instagram, I mean, mainly that's where I operate. Just showing on your story. Like I literally just before this posted like we're filming a podcast. I want to do that for exactly what you just said, so that people who are interested in maybe filming their own podcasts might even bring me on the team to do that for them. Yeah. You know? So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, especially with freelancing. When you're working, like show that you're working, don't just hide in the shadows. But I also feel like some days you got to go retreat to the shadows so that you can just get things done.
Absolutely.
So there's like a time for both, for sure.
But yeah, you're one of those people that does that really well, like big time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Really, I mean, what you're doing requires a lot of effort, and you're going to have to do it no matter what. So the fact that you're now learning, how do I even take the nitty gritty of what I'm doing, or what some would call the uninteresting of you having to sit in front of a computer for a few hours, and you're saying, how do I make that also beneficial in terms of content or something that people want to see? You're doing that really well, and that's cool. That's something other people need to do. Something I need to learn how to do.
On this note, I relate to this in a strange way. I've had probably within this past week, we'll say 2 weeks, like between 4 and 6 people come up to me in conversation, whatever, and say to me that I'm working hard, and they like see that, or they like encourage me in whatever I'm doing. But what's interesting is that lately, because of the way the days have been going, I'll set a task list, right? We talked about this earlier, having that to-do list, and I oftentimes don't achieve what I want to in a day. And so I feel like I'm not working that hard, while I have all these people coming up to me from the outside and being like, dude, you're like killing it, like you're working so hard. And I'm like, I don't feel like that. And I mean, I'm worn out, you know, but I don't feel like that. So it's been this interesting, and that's just like an introspective thought, an interest, an observance of late. Because I don't know, it's weird when you're freelancing. I think you go through a lot of highs and lows, even in your day to day, and like not achieving my goals, but yet being told, dude, you're killing it, you're working hard, is a weird place to be.
Yeah,
it's encouraging for sure, but it's just interesting to process that.
Yeah, when people give you that sort of compliment, because I think I mentioned it before, like the things people think I'm really good at, sometimes like I'm a 7.5 out of 10, you know, all the time.
But that's your perspective, right? It's right. It's your own view.
So when people give you compliments like that, does it resonate with you authentically in any way, or is it really one of those things that's like not super helpful? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. So I've had, when people repeat themselves, like if someone's like, Corbin, you crushed it on music tonight. Like you're playing whatever, you're playing a band, whatever. And then they're like, no, actually, like you freaking killed it. Like that was killer. When I hear that, that really resonates. Or I can most times hear when a comment is kind of meant to be genuine. And it really resonates when it comes across that way. It actually means a lot. But I don't like a lot of talk, which is weird. Maybe that's my biggest flaw, because I tend to talk a lot sometimes too. So it's like this weird dichotomy of things. But yeah, when people say, like they say that I'm killing it or whatever, and then they're like, oh, let's work together soon. And then it's like, don't tell me let's work together soon. I like, if you really mean it, let's do it. I got time for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's all talk until you can give me like a calendar invite.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that like makes me mad or anything. It doesn't make me mad. It shows me that like, oh, you love my work enough to like want to hire me. But also I just have come to this point where with cold outreach, with people in person just saying they want to work with me, whenever there's talk about work, I'm not putting my hopes up in that. But I have like the desire to maybe see that to come to fruition, and I'll like, you know, I'll do all the steps, all the process, I'll like bring you on, whatever. But until there's like a distinct conversation of, okay, we begin this time or whatever, I don't put my hopes into that. And I'll say that, like, I don't know, I almost feel rude saying that, you know, but I just like,
makes sense to me.
I mean, money talks for sure. Like, I think your words have a lot of meaning, 1,000%. And what you say to someone is very important. And that's why I like try to carry myself super intentionally, especially when I'm like in person, you know, encouraging someone, or even anything that I say, right? I'm trying to be intentional. But yeah, especially with business, like I've just come to this point of understanding, like, not everything's going to work out. I'm not always going to get hired. Business is business. And so it doesn't hurt my feelings when someone, doesn't hire me. Like, honestly, like a friend could say they want to hire me. A week later, they're like, actually I can't. That's not going to hurt my feelings. You're still my friend. And I guess that's why I don't like as much someone being like, oh, I want to hire you, and then it's like they never do, or something. I just like this sincerity behind that.
Well, in that sense, I mean,
it's a very real thing. Like, I probably would do that if I, you know,
no, it's very real.
Yeah.
But there should be an element where you almost become a little bit callous to the no's, because whether you like it or not, you are a salesman too. And if you talk to anybody that's worked in sales, it is 1,000 no's until you finally get one yes. So you're spot on.
I've seen that.
And that, I mean, that applies to your personal life, your professional life. Yeah, you're going to put yourself out there a whole bunch of times. And the quicker you find out it's not the quantity, it's like the ones that really catch that matter, then you're way ahead.
True.
You know? So that's sick.
Very true. We talked about, you know, you have started in 2017. You had this guy come along. Like, we've gone through the beginning birth stages of what your company is, but where are you at today? And like, how do you operate now? What have some of the struggles been of late?
Yeah. What's been nuts is when I first started, I had like a crazy growth trajectory in my head, and the hype of all my friends of like, you do it right now. If you don't grab it right now while you can, like, it might go away. And it's like, I got to scale this thing and make it huge within a year, and built all these expectations for myself. But in order to do that, it takes all of your time. You know what I mean? Like, in order to,
and
like,
money.
And money. And so in order to really like scale a company, especially today online, it takes a lot of money. It takes a whole lot of time, and that's stuff that I didn't have.
Yeah, I mean, because you were in school, right?
Yeah.
So
As much as I would have loved to be the guy that drops out of school and makes a whole bunch of money doing it, there's just other stuff that I want to make sure that I accomplish and things that I finish. And obviously, like, it didn't turn into $1 million company in a year, and I think I'm now 4 years down the road and having to come to terms with, like, what does it look like for me to have expectations of, I'm going to grow this in the future. It didn't happen in 4 years like everybody says or it didn't happen in a year like everybody says it's supposed to. So after a while, I got like really burnt out doing it, feeling like now I'm just in this cycle of make some money, have to spend that money, make some money, have to spend that money, and staying really stagnant, and it almost getting defeating for a little while, and then losing like the creative aspect to it and the enjoyment I had when starting it.
Yeah, because it's now a business.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much pressure that comes with you now calling it a business, everybody knowing it's a business, and
they're like, oh, I hope it succeeds. Like,
right.
There's
and
that look,
dude,
that, you know.
100%. And whether people, nobody does it on purpose, but you know that they have expectations for you, and you want to be able to perform. You know, those are the people you're trying to impress so that they'll buy into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, recently, over this last 6 months, I've been having to figure out, how do I turn this back into something that I enjoy, like what it was when I started? Because it hasn't been that. You know, it's just slowed down. I've been stuck in the weeds and things like that. And I had to come to terms with, I need to turn it back into a hobby almost, or something that still feels part-time without the pressure of paying the bills with it, you know? Yeah, that's where it's at now. I'm finally back to making things that I like. I love making products and designing all the products I've had in my head and haven't actually done because I haven't felt like I had time. So
I think that's crucial. I mean, even like I said before, I mean, I use Notion for everything. And I mentioned the t-shirt idea I've been wanting to execute on. And I had a place in my Notion board where I would just write down all my ideas. Somewhere along the way, that thing got deleted. And so now I have like ideas that I had for like 3 years, just like ruminating, like coming through, just gone. And so now I'm like, okay, if I want to start this, like I gotta, you know, restart that. And so there is like some sort of concept of start now or forever hold your peace, you know?
Yeah.
And like if I would have started it earlier, like, yeah, maybe. I mean, I did start it. Like I had the idea stage in action, and that's one of the most crucial parts. But yeah, I mean, I kind of relate to you. But yeah, I remember you were telling me when we had drinks a few weeks back that you, in a way, took a break, right? And that's how you got back to like loving the process, and accepting like, this is where we're at. How can we make the most of it and get it back to something that like I say we, but like something that you really stand for, that like represents Wild Times Go, that is like what you wanted it to be all along. And so if I'm mistaken, please correct me, but it sounds like you're still like in that stage but kind of coming out of it in some ways.
I'm coming out of it because I've now kind of rewired what my expectations are, you know, and that's helped me enjoy it again, and help rebuild that passion of, this can be something really big, and it's allowed to get there in 4 years if it needs to. As long as I'm still passionate about it and I'm moving it forward and I'm loving what I'm doing, it doesn't have to happen in a year. It can happen when the time is right. Although some people say like, no, it's right now, you got to do it right now. Dude, it might be in a year. It might be in 4 years. That's totally fine, you know?
And what's cool is like, I've seen you working with people who, I don't know, I feel like you're doing big things, you know, like from the outside it looks like that. I know how it feels to be in your shoes and someone's like, dude, you're crushing it. Like we were talking about earlier,
dude,
and you're like, I'm not crushing anything. I'm just like here. So like, I don't know. Have you partnered with anybody lately, or maybe I'm mistaken? I feel like there was a band I saw and you're like doing something with that band. Maybe I'm mistaken.
My own personal one.
Oh, you were saying you guys, okay. Because I saw you guys like playing and then also putting Wild Times with it. And so that's why I was like, oh, he's partnering with another band. But it was you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was mistaken.
Yeah, and that's what's been kind of cool. I like that it seemed like I'd partnered with somebody else, because it's like I'm trying to figure out, how do I now take this business that's candles and clothing is all I'm spending my time on, but also tying it into all the other things that I like, because I'm like, if I can find a way to have all those intersect where my brand can also stand for the music that I'm making, or things that I'm writing, or things that I'm making with my hands, then I'm in even better shape. I mean, that's what I wanted to do from the beginning, is like create a name that stands for more than just the name. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
and is Duvin another clothing brand or something?
Duvin's another clothing brand.
And have you done stuff with them, or I just saw you like what they put out? I think.
Yeah, I love what they do. Those are some mutual friends that I've got. 3 dudes that. This is another good example of it taking a while. 3 guys started a surf clothing brand. When I was like halfway through high school, I had a shirt. It was just in Orlando.
They just had a shop in Orlando.
They didn't even have a shop. They were still trying to get their clothes into other people's shops, sell online, but they didn't get huge. They were relatively big in the Orlando area. And then, what would that be then? I was halfway through college when I heard their name show up again because Barstool found them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they blew up like crazy. Just 3 dudes from Orlando just kind of doing what they wanted, and it didn't happen for them in a year. Where they're getting really big now, where lots of people wear their clothes. Dude, they've been doing it for maybe 8 years.
Yeah.
And they're all like 33, 34. That's mind-blowing to me. So, yeah, it's possible. It can happen later in life. It just takes time.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel some of what you're talking about. I think even in our conversation, I shared that with you, like over drinks, because I've been doing this since I graduated, not obviously in the same capacity, and I'm saying graduated high school. So that's like 5 years or so. So something like that, 6 years. Yep. And I say that because I did 2 years at community, and then I came to here, did 4 years, and now here we are. And yeah, I mean, I sucked when I graduated high school, obviously. And then 2 years in, I got to a place where I was like, okay, I'm pretty good. Like I felt, pretty confident what I was doing. So I had plenty to learn, and I still have plenty to learn. But it's now at the point where I just graduated college like 3 months ago, and people are still kind of telling me like, do spec work, do work for free, like all this. And I'm like, bro, I've been doing work for free for like 4 years.
You're like, that's not the secret.
It's not the sauce, bro. It's not what's getting it. But in some capacity, there is some like truth to that of do the spec work, not the free work. Yeah. And I don't think I've heard someone say it like that before. But what I mean is like, I'm not getting hired right now 9 times out of 10, like occasionally. Okay, occasionally get hired for what I want to do. What I want to do is work directly with brands that are like outdoors. They stand for something good, and they're like an energetic company. Like they just want to be outdoors is kind of what I'm going for. A great example of this is like Surf Dirt. They make reef safe sunscreen. Sick. I agree with what they are doing. They want to protect the reefs. I love the ocean. I love surfing. We align a lot. So let's make content. Like let's partner. So that's like a company I want to work with, right? But they're not hiring me. A lot of those companies aren't hiring me. They don't know who I am. And so my new sort of strategy that I want to implement is, okay, if I'm not getting paid to create the work that I want to make, then why don't I make the work that I want to make to get paid? So it's like flipping that around, create spec pieces, and then sell those spec pieces, offer really, you're not like just selling, but offer those spec pieces back to those companies and say, hey, I made this. It's valued at this much money. If you'd like to buy it from me, you can. If not, that's okay, but I'm going to use it to promote myself. Continue to do that. So that's kind of the mindset I'm in. But again, where's my money going to be coming from? So I still have to make sure that I'm paying my bills and all that stuff amidst doing that. And that's big because, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with Aaron Brimhall. Have you heard his name?
Nope.
He's pretty big in the like online creator photo video space. Instagram, you can check him out. He's got a lot of followers, and you know, even on YouTube, he's building a platform there. But he did that. He shot a piece for Porsche, I think valued at like 25K. Like he put 25K into it and turned around and sold it for 40K. So like Porsche didn't hire him. He went out, did the ish, and then made something dope, and then they bought it from him.
Wow.
And I may be getting some of those numbers wrong. The story might be incorrect, right? But the gist of it is that that's what he did for a while. And then he got big, and that's kind of how he does. He doesn't do things the same way now, but
it seems like it takes a lot more of your time to do. But yeah, constantly my DMs are like, or Wild Times' DMs are just full of like, hey, do you need photo work? Hey, do you want this? Do you want that? If anybody, and I'm normally having to say, no, I don't need that right now.
Yeah.
But if somebody showed up with something that I'm like, okay, I actually need that.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's done that to me yet, and that would probably work, you know?
Yeah.
So dang.
And it also depends on the stage of your company too. Like I've realized, okay, you know, there's companies out there that have a lot of followers and they've probably got a lot of people reaching out to them. Okay. So what's going to differ me from them? It's going to be difficult to make my name known amongst the crowd, or to even get my DM or email read. So you also have to consider, and this is for like a photographer out there that might be listening and wanting to do the same thing, that you should probably pitch to companies that are more in your range of like grasp. Like if you're thinking of like the apple tree, like which apple can you actually reach, you know, and kind of go for more of those and shoot for the stars. Like reach out to the companies you actually want to work with too. Not to say you don't want to work with the lower hanging fruit, but like make sure you do kind of reach out to more of a broader scope of audience for that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm working through right now. So,
dude,
I don't know how we got on this tangent.
I don't know, but that's good advice. Heck yeah, dude.
Hey, thanks.
Way to go.
Speaking of advice, I was driving here today and I had something in my mind and I was like, I need to share this on the podcast. So I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, let's get it.
So I mean, oh Lord, please let me remember this one. It was super simple. Oh, here it is. You're not your vices, or no, let me rewind. Your vices aren't holding on to you. You're holding on to your vices. You just gotta let go of them, move on. And that just comes with like what's holding you back in life.
No, that's good.
That thing's not holding you back. You're
oh, that's solid.
I got a few more questions for you, bro.
Let's hit it.
Did we talk about, like, did we get to where you're at now? Did you summarize that kind of how you wanted to?
Yeah.
Sick. Okay,
it's just,
cool.
It's fun again. Yeah. It'll make money at some point, you know? It'll be full time at some point.
I'm honestly trying to do the same thing. Like, I went out and I took photos with Ree. Do you know Ree? Mm-mm. He's killer. He's a cool dude. Sick. But we did skate photos. I should just show them to you right now.
Please.
Because you would like, I mean, you like skating. It's right up your alley, like with Wild Times too.
Oh, let's go.
There's a lot. There's 160 photos. So just quickly, you know, I'll just pick a few. It's so hard. I feel like we didn't really nail the shots we wanted to, but we got killer stuff. Like that's one of them.
Yo,
it's not like
sick.
It's not the like I'm not freaking.
No, it's good.
Going crazy. That's more like it.
I mean, if anybody wants to skate in a Wild Times tee, you got,
hey, bro,
I will hook you up.
This is killer. His tattoos are killer.
Dude, yeah, keep the shirt off.
Whoa. Dude, I've actually noticed this trend lately. It's not a trend, but I've noticed this lately on my feed that, because I'm not one to like go shoot girls in bikinis.
Yeah.
So I guess naturally I've just leaned towards
guys in bikinis?
Guys with shirts off.
Oh, word.
Like 4 different photos on my feed.
So in an attempt to not look like a creep.
It's really a problem, man. I gotta tell them to put their clothes back on. Okay, let me pull up another sick one. Yeah, so we went for a few like specific looks, but I didn't feel like we actually nailed them. We got some killer shots. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not gonna disregard it. But the ones that I think were the coolest, and this one's cool too, skateboarding.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The ones that were actually probably the most sick were posed model style shots. So,
yep,
that sun.
Nice.
I like the harsh sunlight. Oh my gosh, it's just killer.
That's super cool.
I'm just stoked about it. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, but my point in saying that is 1 to 3 every day. I try to take time to go do something fun.
Mm-hmm.
We just did that for fun, which normally be like a 350 plus shoot for someone, to hire me for. But yeah, it was fun. All right, but yeah, it was fun. All right. So we talked about your processes, kind of. I did want to ask, working for Aaron it's Lucid, right? Is that the name? Yeah. So working for Aaron under Lucid, obviously he has a ton of different processes. You're working with a team. There's a lot of different ways that you are engaging, not only with people online, but also like with just yourself in your Notion board and like using that. Has that influenced you a ton with your business? And we did kind of talk about that a little bit, but has it influenced you a ton? And if so, in what way would you want to touch on that
so much?
real quick?
For me personally, it's been organization. So at our company, our COO, shout out Oven Klein, is the most impressive at what he does in terms of documenting all our processes, delegating that out to people, and making sure that our ship runs smoothly. Okay. Our company wouldn't work if we didn't have in place what he's put in place. And
that's pretty powerful.
A big part of that is honestly organization and documentation, and then making sure that your goals are set on some sort of a timeline that you're able to achieve them at. And all those things in some way have affected me, obviously doing it my own way. But dude, I never used to document everything like I should, even when it came down to financials. Like, I hate doing that stuff, but it's like, that has to be organized in order for this stuff to work. Or when it comes to just how I make things, how I pour a candle, I cannot just have all that in my head forever. I need to have that stuff documented, And that guy, along with just showing the tools I can use to get it done, has just shown like, this is the, it's still just me. It's the culture that you need to instill, in your company, for yourself. That's the only way to keep moving forward. So
the big thing for me is like, right now, in what you're saying, I don't know what I don't know. I just don't. And so like the simple thing about like the tools that you could use, I mean, learning about a tool that, like, for instance, Arturo, shout out to Arturo. He was talking to me the other day. I was emailing some people and he was like, dude, you should install this. And it's just like this thing on Gmail that is a plugin, and it shows you when your email arrived. Like it like has 2 check marks, and excuse me, the first one is like, yeah, your email was sent and it arrived properly. And then the second one is they read it. And so you can see like when someone's read, and then you can check and be like, okay, this header or email title is getting like retention. Like people are clicking on it. Exactly.
Dang.
And like kind of think about that and study it. But
no, those are the analytics that we're studying, on how people engage with your ad, like what's your click-through rate and like what's your return. Being able to do that with like an email, that's crazy. Yeah. I don't know why that's not more of a thing.
Yeah. I mean, and apparently I didn't know this, but it does make the most sense. Emails are the worst, I think, option for outreach, because a lot of emails can just get sent to spam. You have to be careful with how your copy reads or your header reads. Yeah. And also you really don't want to just sell people. I mean, you want to tell people what you do and who you are, but I mean, people don't want to just like, I mean, even this week, this guy keeps emailing me. I don't know how this guy got my number or my email, but he just keeps emailing me and asking me if I want a URL. And I'm like, bro, I don't want this URL. I haven't responded to him, but he just keeps being like, dude, getting this website handle could really like increase your engagement.
Yeah, dude, that stuff never stops.
And I'm like,
once they find you on LinkedIn, it's game over.
And I don't want to be that guy.
When you started, because I've gotten those too, and there's a couple. A lot of them, because of what I do, coming from copywriting agencies, they have obviously the most engaging emails. But when you first started getting emails from that guy, were you clicking on them at first?
I don't know, but I know where you're going with this. It's like if he clicks, then I'll send another follow-up.
I don't know how deep we need to go into writing an engaging outreach email. Dude, I mean, obviously, my whole world in terms of like the copywriting side, how you're wording it and everything is super important. For an email, it's of utmost importance, and it's your headline.
It's just text.
Ultimately,
I mean, you have your header, but yes.
Yeah, and I mean, you only have so much control over how far people are going to read into an email, but there are absolutely ways you can get them to click on the email, and that's obviously in your headline. I don't know why there are so many people that still think all caps is going to do it or anything like that.
Oh, the latest thing has been the Be Real, like the icon.
Yep.
It is so engaging.
Well, that'll get you to click on it, but then it'll get you to absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
You have to think, what are the emails that you click on every day? It's the ones that you're used to. It's the ones that feel like they were actually written for you because it's from a person, somebody giving you information. And the only way to get people to click on an email is to make it look familiar, not trick them. But if you've put your name into a newsletter, they know what your name is. That doesn't mean just attach it like a drop name in this area to get them to click. You need to make the headline a headline that a person would write to them. Dude, I don't know why the people don't do that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
True. That's so.
Blows my mind.
For me, emails have been my outreach right now. I've been doing Instagram, but the thing is, people don't check their DMs, especially companies, because that's just like work for them.
Yep.
So I try to do emails, and Arturo was telling me like, bro, this is not. It's hard. So kudos to you. Is pretty much what he said. And I've gotten a couple of responses through it, and a couple of responses for lower. For companies online in the Instagram world that don't have a lot of followers, they'll sometimes respond through DM. So what I like to do is email and DM, same company, oftentimes different copy, because different copy does different things on different platforms.
Absolutely.
Because when you go to email, you're thinking work. When you go to Instagram, it's more play. But what I've found has had the most click through. Just from my observance, I don't have anything like, helping me really observe that other than just like me looking at everything, is the caption or the header, let's make something killer, or let's make killer work. Because they're like, for one, the word killer is just different. Yeah. For two, the fact that you're like, it's an invitation and it's like, make something, there's some mystery there of like, what are we going to make? So that's gotten a lot of click through for me. But since this is what you do you have advice? I mean, I'm looking for advice, so maybe someone here could even benefit from it. But yeah, do you have any advice for like retaining leads, getting clients through reach out or outreach? Wow, reach out. My words are falling apart here.
I'm trying to figure out how. I know that there's a connection. Very little of what I'm doing is outreach necessary for leads.
Yeah, it's on the opposite side of things.
But it definitely applies in terms of like, if you look at a Facebook user, an Instagram user as a lead, there's so many different things that you can do. Down to like the nitty gritty, I don't know how much little piece of advice about engaging Instagram and Facebook copy will work, but I know in terms of like principle, nobody likes reading something they didn't necessarily choose for a long time. Okay. So you have to be brief in terms of getting to the point. Some people want to fluff up their words, fluff up their ad copy with just extra words to try and build up the voice of the brand through extra adjectives and things. It's like, just cut all that out. You're only going to have them for a second. And they don't want to see it in the first place. You have to give them a reason why they're seeing it immediately. And not only that, the biggest mistake I see people make in terms of copy and outreach is they don't give a call to action. Or for some reason, like, there are so many companies that will put hundreds of thousands of dollars in ad spend behind ads that don't tell them what to do. They just say what the product is. They don't say shop now. They don't give any sort of direction at the end. Yeah, I mean, there's all those little things where it's like, you got to be brief. Nowadays, you have to sound like a person, and then you have to tell them what to do next really quick. And if you can hit those three, you're killing it. You're way ahead of the rest.
This is what I've heard from a few other people. Just like, Arturo was like, if you send an email, just be like, for instance, if it's a follow-up email and you saw that they read it, just say like, hey, are you still down to work together? That's it. He was like, just be brief.
Don't put a whole pitch in there.
They don't want to read through everything. Just like, be brief. So I know that I don't think not either of us were thinking about talking about ad copy or anything like that today.
Yeah, dude.
Or sales funnels. But this is something that I'm learning about and trying to grow in. But I shouldn't say I want to. I've thought about running ads for my company, right? So it's like photo, video needs, whatever.
Yep.
The thing is, I'll see ads on Instagram from videographers, and I just don't want to watch them. Maybe it's because I'm a videographer, but I don't think that they do really well. And I also will see ads from video guys or photo guys or coaches or whatever who are in that space who teach that. And they'll be like, type, win in the comments and I'll DM you, or like whatever, which is good for like traction, I guess, for like getting that post up there.
Right.
But to me, it just comes across as a bit suspicious, or even like they'll do the, like click the link and then like, do I even want to trust this link?
Yeah.
Or like book a call. And so there's call to action there, but it's like, I'm not the guy that's going to do that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you haven't built any rapport to be able to give a call to action yet.
I gotta believe that, a lot of people out there are the same way. They're not going to want to do that too. And so when I think about it, like I've been encouraged to run ads, but I don't think I don't know if that would be that great. And when I think about what has gotten me the most clients, it's been word of mouth. And that's what I've heard from other people has gotten the most clients is word of mouth. So then it's like, okay, I just need to be out and about more. I need to be socially available and present, go to events, meet people, have a business card, shake a hand. That's going to get me more clients, it seems. Yeah. But then it's like, shoot, we're in a space where there's a lot of videographers, there's a lot of photographers. So there's a lot of competition. So it's really hard to balance all this. I mean, for instance, I had a guy come up to me. I respect him a lot. I love his business and his brand. He shook my hand, and I recognized him from Instagram. I just randomly saw him in person, and he was like, "Oh, dude, like I want to work with you." And this is one of the times where it was really encouraging. It wasn't like it didn't come across as like a suspicious thing.
Right.
But it was really encouraging. But he had just hired someone else to do work, so he's not going to hire me, and I respect that. I see that. I see the business side of that. I'm not going to expect him to bring me into something or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there doing what I do, and so I don't know. I guess what I'm looking for here is, what would you say to someone, given the space that you're in, you help run ads, you create ads for companies, sort of what's going on in that space. Is it smart to run ads when you're a service? Like, what would you recommend? Like, I'm really trying to increase my leads and my sales funnel, like figuring out what my funnel is.
Yeah.
I feel like my website's pretty killer, but it could be better. I don't know. So yeah. What do you think?
When it comes to, let's say, photography, I don't know personally how many people are hiring a photographer because of an ad. I do know a bunch that comes from word of mouth. But as you were talking about it, I did remember that over the last year or two, there were a couple different advertising agencies, some that are heavily creative focused and some that are strategy, but normally the ones that do like a holistic, like let us work with your brand and then working into like your brand strategy and how you're going to like create a customer journey. Those guys know how to make really good ads that I know work. Like, for example, everybody has seen Dr. Squatch ads. So the blonde guy that you see doing the Dr. Squatch ads, he owns a percentage of that company, but what he does is run a creative advertising agency. And they started running ads promoting their agency just because of how many small businesses are on Instagram and things like that.
Yeah.
But one thing that they do that really helps, and it applies to the copy I'm writing every day, is you don't just want to highlight, here are the things I can do. You have to create what's called a value proposition, where it's not just like if we use a nonstick pan, you don't just want to go, these pans are nonstick. You want to create a value proposition where people picture you will be cooking with ease with this pan, or imagine yourself not having to spend as much time on dishes. So it's not just the benefit, is what is the value that it adds. And let's say you're wanting to run an ad. If you find a way to create a value proposition that's not just, I can shoot photo and video that looks really cool, but you're able to communicate to like, those.
Everyone can do that.
Exactly. Plenty of people can shoot photo and video, but if you're able to say in there, the value is like, instead of I will give you lots of photo and video, you can say, imagine yourself getting way more engagement on Instagram. That's your value proposition. That's the value you're bringing. And I know for a fact, whether small businesses are used to hiring photographers that way, that will actually resonate, and that's something worth trying.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah. And that's how I've kind of looked at it. But my issue there is, well, I don't have a case study. Mm-hmm. I haven't made something for a brand and then been able to be like, oh, shoot, that increased their engagement.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times it's how they use it and how they share it that's going to do that. So I think even bringing myself into that phase of the process would help that. But yeah, I mean, it's like what you're saying. It's all a process, and it takes time just figuring it out.
It doesn't necessarily mean, though, that you have to have, not meaning you're lying, but it doesn't mean you have to have statistics and all sorts of stuff to back it up.
Yeah.
Because you're able to believe in yourself and just present what you believe to be true. You don't necessarily have to have statistics to put into your ad per se, but you're absolutely going to need to introduce people to like the real value that comes out of what you do.
Right.
You know?
I've tried to set myself up in the fact of having a case study so that I do have the statistics.
Yeah.
Should that come?
It's good to have in the conversation later.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do one more question and then we can call it a day.
Let's get it.
And let's take 5 minutes on this question.
Cool.
Actually, wait.
You gonna make it a quick question?
Yeah.
All right, word.
Here's what we're gonna do. No more questions from here.
Word.
What are you loving lately in life, in business, whatever it is? What are you loving lately? Share it with us.
In life, it's just been spending time on the things that fill me up, the things that satisfy me enough that I want to keep chasing it. Obviously, like my relationship. I'm getting married. I'm getting married on March 4th, which is a week away. And pouring time into that is extremely energizing. It keeps me going. And then in terms of my day-to-day, dude, I love sitting down and just making beats. And then from that, trying to make a song. And if I'm not doing that, I'm failing myself 100%. I'm in my early 20s, and you have to take advantage of that time that you have. So now, day-to-day, I try to make sure at some point I'm doing something that just fills me up so much. You know?
That's cool.
Whether that's making music or pouring a candle or just sitting on Illustrator and trying to design a new label, that's the stuff. I love that.
That's sick.
What about you?
All right. Oh, shoot. I got to answer. What have I been doing? This is a tough question because lately life's been rocky with the business and stuff. One comes to mind. I had a friend invite me on a walk. And that was so freaking nice. I've gone on walks like lately, and that's been really good to clear my head. But then afterwards, we just had tea and just like caught up, and it was so freaking good to just sit somewhere with a cup of tea, just talk. Yeah, that's good. That was really nice. Word. That's something I'm loving. And then that's like life. In business, I'm loving the fact that I feel like I'm gonna hit it soon. Even though it's like World War II and I'm in the trenches. Yeah. So, you know, you're out here. We're doing it. We're doing it, man. It sucks sometimes. Yeah, it really sucks sometimes. It's really cool. Yeah. So, yeah. Dude. All right, let's end it. Thanks for being on, man. Dude, thanks for having me. This was really cool. Fun. No, thank you for having me at your place. Check out Wild Times Co, guys. Yeah, killer company. Thanks, man. All right, that's that. Cool.